very good morning and a very warm welcome to a not so warm Duisburg in Germany and the European Olympic qualifiers, where it's the final chance for athletes from the European nations to secure places for their country at the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Rio this summer, and also the Paracanoe World Championships. So for those athletes, it's not just about Rio, it's also about the gold and the glory as well. We have a packed race schedule this morning and all of them finals, starting with the women's K1 500 metres, the men's C1 and K1 1000 metres, the men's K2 200 metres and the women's K2 500 metres. Then moving on to the Paralympic events with all the finals in the men's and women's KL1, KL2 and KL3, all of them racing over a fast and furious 200 metres. Alongside me this morning is Australian international paddler and London 2012 Olympian Jessie Phillips. And we're just getting into the first race out on course this morning, which is the final of the women's K1 500 metres. The first two in this race will qualify quota places for their nation at the Rio Olympic Games this summer. Jessie, what are you most looking forward to seeing this morning out on the course?
Look, the racing is always tight in Europe, and you can see the women heading off the start line in the K1 500. On the near side, a good friend, Jenny Egan from Ireland. She
had a great year last year, didn't she?
She did, and she's
got
really
a good start off the start in the women's K1 500 final this morning as well.
Indeed, and it looks like maybe the Austrian's out early, or the German, in fact.
I think that's Sabrina Herring out in lane 5, who's just pulling into the lead. She was the winner of Heat 1 yesterday, and she's got a couple of meters lead over Martina Kolova from Slovakia in lane 6, but a really nice steady stroke rate from Sabrina Herring.
Yeah, she looked very impressive yesterday in the heats, pulling away in the last closing stages and almost shutting it down, so should be seeing some good things from her in lane 5.
It looks like alongside her in lane 4, Irina Loric from Romania is pushing her as well, but at the moment it is still those two boats, Sabrina Herring of Germany in lane 5 and Martina Kolova of Slovakia in lane 6. Those two now going head to head as they come through the 200 metre mark. I know you're mainly a 200 metre racer, but over 500, what's the feeling now going into the last 200 for those girls?
There's only a small segment of the race where you can really relax, and I know that the final 150, 200 is all about just holding speed, and if you can accelerate, then you're going to be passing a lot of people.
Well, we're into the last 100 metres now, and it looks at the moment like the first two boats, remember, two of these paddlers will qualify for the Olympic Games. It looks like those first two have got clear water, but it's all about who's going to take first place. Will it be Sabrina Herring from Germany or Martina Kolova from Slovakia, and will they be able to hold it just over those last few metres? It's going to be very, very tight, very, very tense, and it will be Sabrina Herring of Germany who takes first, ahead of Martina Kolova of Slovakia who takes second. Those two qualifying places for Germany and Slovakia in the women's K1 500 metres. Unfortunately, the rest of those ladies will miss out, and really that's the end of the road for them, because this is the last chance to qualify for the Olympic Games. But a great race from start to finish by Sabrina Herring.
Yeah, she was very impressive and very, very sturdy. Just saw in the last photos and in the closing dying moments of that race, just a very stable head, maintaining really good rhythm and technical excellence out in front, and that's really where the best paddlers pull away, is in those closing moments when the body starts to shut down and you really need to hold your mind firm, even through the pain and the pressure that's coming at you.
Yeah, and the amount of pressure on athletes now, it's make or break. It's Olympics or wait another 4 years, and we do need to make sure that listeners and viewers know that although these athletes are qualifying the places are for the nation, it doesn't necessarily mean that the athletes that qualify these places will be going to the Olympic Games. They still need to be selected by their country, but for Sabrina Herring there, it looked like a formality. She just looked so controlled. So indeed. I think we can have, if she does get selected for Rio, more to expect from her.
Yeah, you could expect that for sure. And look, the conditions here today are cool. I think it would have been a low 52, maybe a 53, which isn't slow, and she'll be certainly putting her hand up for that K1 500 metre selection for Germany. But as you say, this could be the end of the road for some of them. I know that a couple of the girls probably made the KL1 200 metre final, which is later this afternoon, and they might have their last shot at it. But for some, this is it. And for those that did just qualify, it really does come down to national selection. And for Sabrina, well, Germany is one of the hardest countries to make an Olympic team.
So much competition. And it might be the case that, yeah, fantastic. She looks so relaxed. And then who took third? I think that looks like Yvonne Schöring, still performing at the age of 38. Yvonne Schöring out there in lane 3 for Austria, crossing the line in third, ahead of Irina Loric of Romania in fourth in that rainbow-coloured boat. A shame for Yvonne Schöring. She's probably better known for her K2 partnership with Victoria Schwartz. They won gold in the K2 500 back in the World Championships in 2011, but still coming so close to qualification at the age of 38. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it just shows that this sport is a long-term sport. You can really refine it over many, many years. And I remember the Hungarian K2 1000 metre gold medalist from London. He was 38 when he won his first gold medal at the Olympic Games, and you know, 40-year-old going to the games in an incredibly highly intense sport like kayaking is it shows that it is technical brilliance, it's strength, it's bringing all these combinations and components together, and it does take a long time for some people.
And that just showed the winning time there for Sabrina Herring of Germany was 1:55, so not massively fast conditions out there this morning. It's actually pretty chilly, isn't it, up here?
Look, it is. It's the coolest of the mornings this week in Germany, so we won't be expecting a lot out of the times, but certainly the placings are incredibly important for all these athletes going forward.
So that's the non-official results there, confirming that Germany and Slovakia will join New Zealand, China, Azerbaijan, Slovenia, Portugal, South Africa and Canada at the Olympic Games. Those other crews qualifying from the first round of qualification at the World Championships last year in Milan. So the next race on course this morning in around 7 minutes time, I think, perhaps 10 minutes time, will be the final of the men's C1 1000 metres. So that'll be out on course. They're just changing the start buckets over and bringing the start line up to the 1000 metres. So Jesse, for you, how's your winter, or for you summer, gone? How's it gone?
Yeah, it's a little bit different for us in the southern hemisphere. We've probably got a shorter period between the world. Well, we do have a shorter period between the World Championships and our national selections, generally around the February-March period of the year. So a lot of it was done out in the surf. I live in Perth, Western Australia, so I have the luxury of having the beautiful Indian Ocean as my playground, and my doubles partner and I, Steve Bird, who has been selected as the KL1 200 metre paddler for Australia in Rio. We've been doing a fair bit of work out in the Indian Ocean and refining some of our surf skills as a little bit of fun and difference for us to jump on the water and get some work done. Fair bit of gym. We had the opportunity to work with the British guys last year for a couple of months leading into the World Championships, and it was a lot of fun to get out there and play in the gym a little bit more after having learnt a few tactics from them, and it's really, you know, the build up to an Olympic trial. It's a culmination of so much learning, and 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, it can be 20 years for some of these athletes like Yvonne Schöring, and so combining all of those components into the most refined performance you can at the Olympic trials is what it is about for a lot of athletes, and particularly for me and Steve. We've been working on our K2 for a very long time. 8 years we've been a combination, and so we had the job of separating our performances into our K1s due to the selection trial being on the singles this time around, and it created its own challenges between us, and certainly, you know, in our own performances in a K1 we'd obviously combined very well in a double, but the singles had certainly been on the fray of our performance outlook, and so bringing in the different components of how to make a K1 go fast has really been what my summer has been all about. And it's been exciting. You know, I've taken my K1 performance to a new level at the trials. Steve as well. We've both paddled PBs at the trials, which is what you want to paddle your best. And you know, I'm looking forward to seeing him all the way through to Rio. I'm actually coaching him for this season, which is very
fantastic.
exciting.
Is that different for you? Is that something that you've done before?
I haven't done it in such a formal capacity. I've certainly coached some young juniors and some guppies, what we call guppies, very short boats, at my local club, and I'm a big fan of developing the grassroots of our sport. I think it's the key to seeing all these amazing athletes out here at a younger age. But it has thrown up its own challenges, and certainly I'm just open to the new skills that's going to provide me. You know, thinking of an athlete from an athlete's point of view, but now from a coach's point of view is, well, it's a different thing. The different components and the responsibilities of a coach. It's very becoming, and I'm looking forward to the challenges, the continued challenges that I'm going to have to be faced with, which is fun.
And are you hoping to continue paddling and racing and being competitive yourself while you're still coaching?
Look, I will certainly be keeping my paddles wet and training where I can. In terms of my future in competition at this level is yet to be decided. I'll give it some time. You know, it's always a hard road to tread straight after trials to decide these types of things, but I think probably by the end of the year, if not next year, I'll have a better understanding of it.
Well, the next race on course will be the final of the men's C1 1,000 metres. That'll be going in just about 5 minutes' time. There's the start list for you this afternoon. Some big names to look out for in the final of the men's C1000. 2 will qualify straight through, again, as in the women's K1 500. So some names on that board to look out for. Leonid Karp out in lane 4, just 19 years old. The current world champion in C4 1000. There on your screens is Diego Romero of Spain, a double bronze medalist at the under-23 European Championships in C1 500 and C1000 back in 2013. Finished third in Heat 1 yesterday to qualify through. Now, only 2 athletes were actually eliminated from the semi-finals, so we've got a good field here this morning. Who else should we be looking out for in this?
Looks like the Romanian was the quickest by just over a second.
Yeah, 3:52.324 was Leonid Karp, that athlete we just mentioned in lane 4. But we're looking at now, that's Strahinja Mladešik from Serbia out in lane 3. Just 22 years old. A lot of youngsters in this C1000 metre final. I think Matej Rusnak of Slovakia in lane 5. He's the only one in this race actually born in the 80s, which makes me feel old.
Baby, yeah. Look, bring it on.
The rest of them born in the 90s. So lane 1 will be Latvia's Dagnis Iljans. He made the B final at the World Championships last year. Again, just 23 years old. Finished second in the semi-final yesterday, so he'll be racing out in lane 1. That's the furthest lane from the cameras. He's been consistently making A finals, has Iljans, and being in medal contention at under 23 level at least. Now, you're a kayak paddler, Jesse. Is there any names to you that that stand out for you out there?
Look, I tend to look for countries when I'm looking at the seaboat lineups, and certainly the likes of the central lanes obviously give you a good purchase on who's going to be fighting it out for the top few places. So the middle 5 lanes will generally take to the podium. Romania's always been a very, very strong country in the seaboats. Slovakia, maybe, bouts here and there. Bulgaria, certainly. Our former head coach, and in fact, a news story in Australia is the 48-year-old Martin Marinov has made the Australian Olympic team after having coached the last 2 games.
He's paddling with a younger paddler, isn't he?
A younger guy, yep. Ferenc Sexardi. He's a Hungarian-born and but Australian citizen now after moving probably a good 10, 11 years ago to Sydney. He's out of Perth, so he's a good friend of mine. and they'll be combining in the C2 1000, and I'll both split to do the C1 200 and C1 1000 at the games as well. So, but certainly Bulgaria, very, very strong country in sea boats. So look, I think that the key is for them to get the best race out of themselves at this point. They've done all the work, and hopefully they've all warmed up very, very well in this cooler.
So all the boats now just approaching the start buckets up at the 1,000-metre mark. And it seems like an awfully long way away. Out in lane 7, it's Spain's Diego Romero. We spoke about him just a moment ago. Alongside him in lane 8, just in the foreground of the picture there, that's Alexei Machnist of Belarus. Very strong as a junior, not seen a lot of him since. And just the final boats getting themselves into position at the start of this men's C1 1,000-metre final. Remember, the first 2 boats will qualify places for their nation at the Olympic Games in Rio this summer. And it's game over for the rest of them, unfortunately. This is their last chance to qualify for Rio.
So they'll be all looking for a really strong, solid start. Nothing too exciting, but to try and find that peak velocity as soon as they can, and then they're just really holding that with really good rhythm and efficiency all the way through the end. And if they have anything left in that final 200, they're obviously going to be building to ensure that they're in those top 2 positions to finish.
Being held in those blocks an awful long time, that just builds the nerves, doesn't it?
It's not helpful when you're only on one knee either.
Oh,
a little bit
like
false
a
start.
Don't know who that was pushing against the boat. It looks like lane 7 who was pushed back the most, and is a red flag. I'm not sure which lane that will apply to. So they'll line up again. That's just an extra psychological.
Quick start now.
Oh, fantastic start out in lane 4 by Leonid Karp, the fastest qualifier, and he got out the block so quickly out in that red boat with the pink scarf around his head. He's just got a slight lead there. Out in lane 4 is the Romanian, and also surging along nicely is lane 6, Angel Kodinov, another youngster, just 18 years old, in that white boat in lane 6. Bronze at the Junior World Championships last year in Portugal. So at the moment, it's a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old leading the running for places at the Olympic Games in Rio later this year.
Rusnak looking very comfortable, but sitting back at this point. And certainly the Romanian is taking it out and setting the early pace in Karp, and looking very stylish at the same time, keeping his head warm. But now a nice solid boat length lead at the 250. That's an early break for the Romanian. On the screen there is the Serbian Mladevic. I'm terrible at pronouncing.
Mladežić.
Okay, we've got the Serbian Serbian name down, and the Italian on screen, Ticini.
Carlo Ticini out there in lane 2.
Very, very smooth boat run there.
And it just drops. There's still Leonid Karp, as you can see. I think he's just got that slight higher stroke rate, just slightly, than the rest of the field. And if he can keep that up and keep that rhythm, that's really strong. But it looks like alongside him, coming up into seconds, is, like you say, Mladežić.
Yes.
of Serbia. He made the B finals at the World Championships
just holding
last
that pace.
year. And remember, 2 will go through. So coming through the halfway mark now. Didn't quite catch what those splits were as they came through, but lovely flat, calm water, lovely paddling conditions. And from this end, you can see that there's a tiny, slight headwind. It doesn't look like too much of a cross at the moment, I don't think. But the field really starting to get spread out now, but still Leonid Karp of Romania leading that field. Mladežić still very much in contention, perhaps closing that gap out the front. And Carlo Ticini also still in with a shout.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens from lane 6 in Kodinov from Bulgaria. He's just pressing up a little bit on this near side, and I wouldn't rule him out from a strong finish. He's going to be looking at that second place as an open game.
Less than 250 left to go, and as Jesse says, Anjo Kodonov is just moving up on those front three paddlers, but Leonid Karp is stroking out his lead again, gaining that lead, got clear water now, 200 metres left to go. Leonid Karp lifts his stroke rate with less than 200 metres to go now. It looks like he at the moment is very much in contention for that first qualification spot. Who will get the second? It is Angel Kodonov who's lifting his stroke rate really high now at the moment. Carlo Ticini out in lane 2. The Italian looks like he's currently in second place, but it will be between Kodonov of Bulgaria and Carlo Ticini of Italy out in lane 2 for that second spot, and this is going to go right down to the wire. At the moment it is Ticini of Italy. Can they hold on? Ticini is gaining on Leonid Karp of Romania. Remember, just two places to go there, but muscles are going to be absolutely screaming as they come towards the finish line. And first place will go to Leonid Karp of Romania, with Carlo Ticini of Italy in third.
Fantastic race.
And a very disappointed Angel Kodonov of Bulgaria coming over the line in third. Sorry, Carlo Ticini in second, Angel Kodonov in third from Bulgaria. And although a disappointment for Kodonov there, fantastic finish and so much more to come from an 18-year-old paddler.
No, truly, that's really impressive, and to hold such maturity through the back end and try and press up on the leaders in at the closing of the race is, there's lots to come from the young Bulgarian, but hats off to Leonid Karp from Romania, and Carlo Ticini. He was absolutely ringing himself towards the end and stoked to get all across the line in that top two. He'll be looking for his obviously his national selection berth for the Italian Olympic team, and good on him. And likewise Karp, the young 19-year-old
just
from
leading
Romania.
From start to finish.
Very, very controlled. Great power at the catch, and you could just see his boat was running on. Every time he put the rating up, the boat would move, and that's exactly what you're after in every craft that you see out here today. It's about catching the water and pressing off that water and really locking down and moving off that point. So you can see how much he can just move away from the field because he's got such great connection out in front.
It looked like he was just in control physically and mentally as well of every stage of the race.
Too right. And likewise, like you see the control that he had in winning the heats yesterday in comfortably 352 ahead of the next best in the 353. And we look forward to seeing Karp in Rio.
So moving on swiftly to the next race of the afternoon, which will be the final of the men's K1 1000 metres, one of the most exciting races on course this morning. That's going to be going very shortly, and the boats are already in the start buckets, ready to go. And some big names to look out for out there as well, especially another youngster in lane 6, Ukraine's Oleg Kuharek. But it looked like a really fast start from Jonathan Boyton out there in lane 1 from Great Britain. He'll be looking to kind of take up the mantle from Tim Brabants, who was Olympic champion in 2008. But the best start of the lot is quite simply Marcus Volts from Spain out here in lane 8. He's just trying to time the stroke rate there. And already Marcus Volts has clear water over the rest of the field. A very, very confident start from the Spanish athlete.
Yeah, so that was powerful. He was rating up into the high 140s, which is not uncommon of a 500-metre athlete moving out of the blocks, but he's really obviously wanting to set himself up, get the boat running. And as I said earlier in the C1 1000, it's about finding that highest velocity as fast as you generally can with efficiency, and then holding with great form, rhythm, and consistent power all the way through the race.
So he is being reeled in already by pretty much the whole field almost. And out in those central two lanes, lanes 5 and 6, it's Roman Anoshkin of Russia out in lane 5, and Oleg Kuharek of Ukraine in lane 6, who are starting to push up. You can see now how Marcos Volts of Spain is just controlling his stroke rate, but he's dropped right back. He had a very, very powerful start. Will he have enough to power through the finish as well? But at the moment, it is lane 5. Roman Anoshkin of Russia, who's out there in the lead, looking very controlled. Didn't get too excited and carried away by seeing Marcos Volts spring out of the blocks earlier. And it's a strong paddle as well from Bence Domvari of Hungary out in lane 3. Bence Domvari was under 23 world champion in 2014. And now it is Domvari of Hungary and Roman Anoshkin of Russia who are going head to head and currently leading the field for those 2 qualification places. Also paddling quite well in that blue boat with the yellow and blue top is Oleg Kuharek of Ukraine. And he's paddling himself well in contention for one of these spots.
Look, Anoshkin's rating around about the 100, 110, 105, 110 mark, which is it's fairly pacey. The difference, I suppose, is between the C and the K boats is that the acceleration really increases with the K boats. You see that they can really move through the back end of the field, or the back end of the race through the field with the pickup in rating, and it depends on the race plan. You can see he's just pulling away though now.
So coming down with 100 metres left to go, and has Marcos Volts of Spain left himself too much work to do? He's lifted his rate, he's powering through again. We saw him have such a fantastic start and then drop back. But now I think he's in contention for one of these top 2 spots. It's between him and Roman Anoshkin and Bence Domvari for these top places. And Roman Anoshkin of Russia is starting to hurt. He's starting to drop back. Who's going to take these 2 places? It will definitely be Bence Domvari of Hungary who takes first, but it's going to be very difficult to decide between Roman Anoshkin of Russia and Marcos Volts of Spain for that 2nd spot. What do you reckon, Jesse?
Well, I feel like Volts probably just did not have just enough to get over the line of Anoshkin there for 2nd, but Domvari is certainly a fantastic finish to finish that one in 1st place. What a great race overall. You can see the acceleration I was speaking about there in Volts in lane 8. He went out, he used his speed. He's a 500-meter world champion, and certainly he tried to do exactly similar pacing to what I would do in a K2 1000 with my doubles partner Steve. He goes out hard, he gets the lead, he relaxes, and then he absolutely pounces in the back end. And we'll see. It may have worked for him, but there might be a little bit of a sour taste knowing how much he put into that start and that finish.
So there's the start that we saw earlier. John Boyton was good out the blocks, but he just didn't have it after that first couple of strokes. And I must admit, it's going to be difficult. It's going to go right down to the official timings, but Roman Anoshkin of Russia, who we're seeing there, did look like he was struggling at the end. You could see him grimacing coming through the 200-meter mark.
Certainly slowing down.
Whereas Domvari out there in the zebra boat, out in lane 3, just had that, was able to lift, was able to put more power down, was able to lift his stroke rate, and still looked like he was, probably didn't feel in control, but still. So this is the finish, and it's gonna.
Oh, I
still can't call that. I still can't call that. Wow, that's what this racing is all about.
Wow,
it's going to be so tight.
It shows you how much these guys want it. It is the closest finishes for 2nd and 3rd you'll see all season.
And for one of them, it's going to be glory, and for one of them, it's just going to be gutting. It's just such disappointment. But have you ever tried the K1 1000 meters, Jesse?
Look, years ago. I specialised back at the end of 2009 once the 200-metre event came into the Olympic program, and it worked out quite nicely for me, knowing that I had a lot of speed off the line in the 1,000 metres, and I utilised that really well in the 200, obviously. But I can't say I missed the 1,000, but I did enjoy them at times. I love the tactical nature of it, as you saw Marcus Volz there really went out hard and then sort of tapped off to a certain degree. Not that you can fully tap off in a 1,000 metre event, and then used his speed again. And that's sort of, they're the differences within the 1,000 metres that you can see. You can't really see the difference in a 200 metre event where it's so splash and dash. You know, you just have to be on your stroke the whole time. In 1,000 metres, you've got the time to use different parts of your skill base and your ability, fitness and strength. So look, it's going to be exciting to see the fallout of this race. Well, these are the finals of the C1.
So we do have those results for the men's C1000 metre final. There's Leonid Karp in first place with a 3:58.288. Carlo Ticini of Italy taking second. Those two athletes qualifying spots for the Olympic Games in Rio. And hopefully sooner rather than later we'll get some results from those. And it looks, according to this, like there was a 1/10 of a second in it, but I'm sure it was closer than that. And at the moment the result has been given to Roman Anoshkin of Russia, who, after leading from start to almost the finish, clinched that second spot, with Bence Donvari of Hungary taking first and Marcus Volz of Spain just missing out. I'm always fascinated by those race plans about what works for some people, doesn't work for others.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just really entertaining. That's what spectators want to see as well, is big starts, big finishes. You know, we don't want to see the same guy leading from start to finish. It's what's going to draw people into watching the sport.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And it's fairly exciting when you do see these types of race plans come to fruition, and the likes of my countryman Ken Wallace, who's well known for his very, very, very strong finishes in the final 250, almost faster than his first 250 and most of the field's first 250. And so, that provides the spectators with a change. You know, it's like a story that you didn't see the next part of the story coming, and that gives you great spectatorship. It's a bit harder when you're dealing with the athletes in these events, though, when you see them going out there and putting their heart and soul on the water and breaking their backs in training, and then coming out here and doing it on the competition arena in front of thousands of people and people watching at home, and that gives you the perspective, I suppose, to say, well, the way that people race is a big part of their personality, the big part of what type of athlete they are, their strengths, their weaknesses, and so it's a real testament to this sport, every sport, that you're seeing the best that they can provide for themselves and for the race out there on the water. It comes in different forms, and hopefully you get a few more Marcus Volzes out there for entertainment purposes, but the likes of Anoshkin to hold on in the closing stages is testament to his will, to pull himself towards the line. He could have folded 50 metres to go, but he didn't. He held because he knew he had more in the tank. And it's exciting. It's great. It's a great show of the human spirit in sport, and it's very exciting. Nice to see live.
So we've got some more exciting racing coming up in 8 minutes' time, which will be the final of the men's K2 200 metres. We're just having a short pause, while the officials move the start line down to the 200 metre line. But I'll just remind you that Bence Donvari of Hungary and Roman Anoshkin of Russia qualified places for the men's K1000 for the Olympic Games in Rio later this year, and they will join those qualified from the World Championships in Milan last year. And what a close and an exciting looking lineup that could well be. Denmark, Germany, Belarus, Australia, Bulgaria, Sweden and Serbia all qualifying last year. And it's worth mentioning that depending on what happens at the American round of qualification this weekend, also happening at the same time, Arthur Peters of Belgium, or Belgium at least, as a nation, sorry, not host nation, as a nation, could well qualify a place as well. Arthur Peters finished, he was the next on the list for countback. It's very, very complicated, but he was next on the list for countback at the World Championships. And if Brazil qualify a place in their own right at the American qualification rounds over in the States this weekend as well, then Arthur Peters will clinch that spot for Belgium. So he'll be keeping his fingers crossed that Brazil go well at the American qualification this weekend.
Well, that'll be a tough event for sure. I know the Canadians are moving quite well. The Argentinians, particularly in the K2 200, as you see on the screen, all these guys pushing for this one final spot. One final boat will be selected from the European nations, with one more boat to come from the Pan American continental qualification. And you see a different combination from Belarus, the Dmitry Tratsikyo and Taras Valk. So they've brought themselves into contention after probably a fairly strong Belarusian national selection trial. You can see the conditions here are quite fair, which is fantastic for the shorter distance 200. It does make a difference even though it is over 200, and Duisburg's always very good for that. See on screen Erik Sandbacher and Christian Svanqvist from Sweden. Very unlucky last year at the World Championships. They finished 8th.
So that's what, missing out by just 2 places.
Just 2 places.
Yeah.
And the one crew ahead of them who aren't competing in this European qualifier is Lithuania. They got the count back from the Australian Oceania K2 200, which was handed back to the ICF. On screen, Miroslav Zatko and Lubomir Beno have been a really strong combination for some years, contesting several B finals at World Championships over the last couple.
Are you enjoying having a chance to watch the racing for a change, or would you, are your feet itching? Would you rather be out there?
Right now I feel quite comfortable where I am. It's cold out there. I'm fairly warm up here. But I think every athlete who has competed, most athletes I should say, when they watch racing, there's always a part of them that wants to be out there and in the firing line. And that's the competitive nature of every athlete. Dennis Volkovs and Kasper Tiklin, Latvian pairing. Latvia always pair up quite well over the 200. They've done very, very well since back in 2010. And look, disappointing to not be racing this weekend, but at the same time there's different things in life that you can enjoy, and certainly commentary and coaching, 2 new parts of going forward in the sport. I look forward to calling races and analysing them a little bit more as both those roles a little more now. You can still learn a lot, and whether I take that into a future athletic or continued athletic, career pursuits or not, nonetheless, all good learnings for the future.
4 minutes to go now till the start of that men's K2 200 metres final. Unlike the last 2 races, the last 3 races that we've seen where 2 boats will go through, only the first boat of these K2 and C2 races coming up will qualify. So just the first boat will qualify. It's all or nothing for these crews out there this afternoon. Jessie Phillips, the Australian international, London 2012 Olympian, is alongside me. Moving into a little bit of coaching now, but as well, Jessie, I know you've done a lot of acting in the past. Are you still dabbling in that?
I haven't been more recently, just due to the fact of Olympic trials. You have to prioritise in life, and managing time is always quite. It's been a challenge for me because I do have a variety of passions and a variety of responsibilities. So I do love to dabble, and I haven't been as active more recently. But the last show I was on stage for was a Shakespearean show, A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Wow, that's a bit different to K2, isn't it?
It is. It's very different, and I love that. It's a different part of life that I can enjoy. and a new challenge. You know, Shakespeare's. It was his birthday the other week. If no one else knew that, 400 years old apparently. So look, I can apply the acting skills in a variety of different means. I won't act on the water now. I'll act behind a microphone.
So that's in lane 5 for this men's K2 200 metres. In that orange boat is the Belarusian pair of Dmitry Tratsiaku and Taras Valko. Tratsiaku raced K1 200 last year, K1 rather than K2, and Valko raced the K2 with Vadim Malnev last year, made the final at the European Games. And that there in lane 8 is the Slovakian pair of Miroslav Zatko and Lubomir Beno. Just as they approach the start line. So what is the key, Jesse, to, as we saw earlier in the K1, in the K1000, there's plenty of time to have a race plan. There's plenty of time for a change of pace. How, when you've got just 200 metres, something like 30 and a bit seconds, how do you create the perfect race with no mistakes? Is there a way of ensuring that happens?
Oh, look, just training. A lot of specific, deliberate training that just drills the body into knowing what to do under that pressure. A lot of it's about locking the power down into the water. You can't really float off any stroke, and let the boat run. It needs to be accelerating every moment of the race. And if you can find some free strokes and some free speed through the middle of the race, which hopefully you'll find some of these crews finding, so that they've still got the speed through the back end. The same still applies. It's getting the boat really high up.
They're underway. Good start for the Spanish crew out in lane 4. Saul Cravioto and Christian Toro. Great start from Toro and Cravioto. Cravioto, Olympic champion in the K2 500 in Beijing, silver medalist in the K1 200 at London 2012. And they are currently leading it with 50 or so metres left to go. And they have got clear water, a fantastic, powerful and beautiful race. Just one boat is going to qualify, and it will be the Spanish in lane 4. What a fantastic performance from them from start to finish. No doubts at all.
There wasn't any doubt from anybody in the stands, I don't think. The only question was whether anything went wrong for these two. They were clearly the fastest qualifiers yesterday, and dominant performance there. Really incredible performance and performers. Sol Cravioto, as you mentioned, Olympic champion K2 500 from Beijing, and bronze medalist, silver medalist from London, K1 200. Yeah, so the horsepower in that boat is unquestionable, and he's paddling at all-time speeds, it seems, for him personally in the K1 as well. Really impressive.
And this race, the men's K2 200, is usually the closest race. So to be able to see clear water like that is just absolutely fantastic. And it's going to be a lot closer than that come Rio, isn't it?
Well, they've just thrown themselves into the medal mix, I believe, with that type of performance. To win that by probably what will be around about 3/4 of a second, at least 2/3 of a second, over some pretty solid crews. I mean, there's no slouches in that field. The Swedes are very, 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 very fast. The Italians, the Belarusians, I couldn't see them challenging for a win against Hungary, Serbia. And it'll be very, very exciting to watch in Rio. It will be the closest of the events, I believe. And you might just see that celebration in about 2 months' time, I dare say.
So out of those crews that qualify from the World Championships, Jesse, I mean, Hungary, Russia, Serbia, France, that British pair, Germany, out of those, I mean, the athletes that qualify, you're used to racing against them. Who to you looks like, contenders along with that Spanish pair that we've just seen racing for gold medals?
Well, I can't see too many outside of that top 6 that qualified direct through from the World Championships last year in contention for the medals, outside of that Spanish pairing. So I believe it's probably a 7-horse, literally a 7-horse race for 3 medals.
Are there any particular standout?
I can't say that there are, because I believe that that any of those crews could win. I seriously believe that any of them could win, and that time in these conditions, you can see that that's a .94 gap.
32.040, yeah, 0.94, fantastic. Almost a second win for the Spanish crew.
Yeah, they're very happy about that. They've trained really, really hard. I've seen them a lot of posting on Instagram of the work they've been doing, and they look impressive. And yeah, they've clearly shown it here. That's fantastic. Hard work does pay off.
Is there much chatting? Is it kind of friendly in between the crews? Obviously, when you're on the water, you've got the blinkers on and you're racing. Do you know many of these guys from the European nations personally to chat to? And
yeah, certainly. Like there's a bit of a clique, I suppose. Like in most events, you get to know and the people that you race against, and even though language can be a small barrier between deeper levels of conversation and friendship, you certainly sympathise and understand each other. There's a little bit of chatter here and there. How you going? You try and use a little bit of their language when possible, but we've become very good friends with the Brits. Obviously, Liam and Johnny, who will be out here this weekend and racing in the K2. Obviously, training with them last year, and then heading back here at the end of this month, actually, to train ahead of Rio for Steve, at least. The Spaniards are very, very friendly guys. The Latvians, the Germans, the French, the Serbians, even. Like the Russians, the Hungarians. We all understand each other in a way. Everyone here understands each
other. On the same level.
When you paddle the same boats and compete in the same type of environment, it's a community, and most of the time when you're not racing against each other, you're not tearing each other's hair out. That's for sure. It's about enjoying the moment and sharing a little bit of banter here and there. We're all human.
And that British pair that you just mentioned, Liam Heath and John Schofield, like you say, they were bronze medalists at London 2012, but came 5th at the World Championships last year. I guess that kind of shows that I personally thought they would be capable of more than 5th. It shows just how close and how marginal 200-metre racing can be.
Absolutely, and they were 5th last year by, if I might be wrong, but probably 0.3, 0.35, something like that. That's a nose, that's not much, and I know that their start last year was compromised a little bit technically. But if they get everything right, as I say, any of those crews can win the Olympic Games in my mind. And it's about who handles the pressure the best, and I know that they handle pressure very, very well.
So the next race on course will be I just shuffle my papers. Here we go. The women's K2 500 metre final. That's going in just about 9 minutes' time. So, as they did earlier, they're just going to take their time over moving the start gates up the field, up the course. And this will be really tight. Really tight, really entertaining. A lot of, definitely a few crews in there that could win it. And it'll be very, very, very entertaining race.
I think the key for these girls is to find, a high speed. It goes to show there's a very, very similar race plan in every single event. It's about finding high speed early and then holding it as efficiently as possible for maintenance of the cardiovascular system, muscular sort of fatigue throughout the event. And K2 500 is one of the harder events on the program because it's a great combination of absolute speed and endurance. It's a real strength endurance event. You just saw the power, speed, power event in the K2 200, and the more strength style / cardiovascular fitness endurance in the 1,000 meters. This is even more so. It's a great combination of both, and it's going to be all on. And I'd hate to be out there, to be honest. One boat goes through to the Olympic Games. It doesn't get more pressure cooker than that. I hope that they can all put their best race out there, and that's what I think every athlete wants. of themselves and of each other. I mean, I think if you're in the race, you hope that your competitor doesn't go quite as well as they could go. But I think for everyone in the stands and your teammates, you just want them to do their best and find their ultimate performance when it really matters, obviously.
And they're obviously not racing here today because it's the European qualifiers, but you guys have a good women's K2 500, don't you? Australia do.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about them. Will they be at Rio?
They will be, and it is exciting. It's a fairly young, well, it is a very young crew. The AB squared, as we like to call them, or as they like to call themselves, and I like to call them Ali Boo
because they've Alyssa Bull and Elise Burnett, isn't
exactly,
it?
Elise Burnett, Alyssa Bull. They've gone from strength to strength, and it shows through their coaching. They've been coached by Anna Wood, a former world champion and Olympic medalist in the K2 500, which is very, very handy for them. She knows exactly how to train them, and she's really got them working together as a team, and that really shows out in the water. They love paddling together, it seems, and they love hanging out off the water, and it's something that I suppose appreciate in that. That's how it's been for me and Steve in the K2. We've loved both paddling together and also enjoyed each other's company off the water, and that helps a lot because you can understand each other and you can adapt and you can talk and teamwork in a K2, particularly over these types of distances. That's what you need. You need that teamwork and that communication, and I think they've got it. And particularly Alyssa Bull in the front, she's setting it up really nicely. And Elise Burnett, who's I think a bronze medalist in the under-23 K1 500 from a couple of years ago. Incredibly powerful engine in the back, and she combines really well. So a lot of competition from Europe. They posted a super fast time in Perth, my home ground, my home court, at the Nationals and Olympic Trials back in March. And so I've got good feelings about their future, and I think whether it's this year or going forward towards Tokyo, I believe that they can produce some pretty solid performances in the K2 500 and probably in other K events, obviously, in the K4, K1 as well. So looking forward to them. They'll definitely be on the line. This weekend's also quite contentious for our K1 girls. Naomi Flood in the K1 500 and Jo Brigden-Jones in the K1 200. They are head-to-head racing, and whichever one ranks highest goes. And I would hate to be in that position. It's down to one race, or potentially down to one semi-final.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So next up on course, and they're just warming up and getting ready to go, is the final of the women's K2 500 metres. And as Jessie Phillips, Australian Olympian, was just saying, this is going to be an extremely close race. Just the first boat will qualify a place for Rio 2016 for their nation. On the screen there, we're looking at Michaela Melezovová and Anna Kozic of the Czech Republic out there in lane 1. Melezovová was kind of part of an underperforming K4 over the last couple of years, so hopefully teaming up with the current world marathon champion in Anna Kozickova will pay off and get them a place at the Olympic Games in Rio. And some other really strong boats to look out for this afternoon. Just Russia and Romania qualified in Milan at the World Championships last year. That's because 5 of the top 6 boats had actually already qualified in the K4 as well, and the countback places were handed over to further K4s as opposed to further K2s. If you catch my drift, it's very complicated. And one of those crews to fall foul of that was, as you can see on the screen, Lani Belcher and Angela Hanna. They finished 9th at the World Championships, believed they qualified through the countback process, but the places were instead handed to the K4. They took it to appeal, but unfortunately they lost, so they're here this afternoon racing for that one K2 place.
Yep, and they certainly have to deliver right here, right now. You can see on the screen there the Spanish crew of Azande and Contreras. They'll be all nervous, incredibly nervous. Hopefully, relatively relaxed, so they can execute their race plans as well as they can, as discussed before. See Gomez and Rodriguez on screen from Portugal. They're very strong. And the Belgian crew of Brock and Peters, who are coming from lane 5. You can see the Belarusian pairing of Yevchenko and Krishina in lane 2 on screen there, pulling into the blocks.
Don't forget, after this we've got the Paralympic World Championship finals for the Paracanoe World Championship finals for the Paralympic disciplines, where 4 boats from each discipline will qualify for the Paralympic Games in Rio this coming September. That's coming up in 20 or so minutes time, start of that racing. Lane 5 there, the fastest qualifiers, Lise Brooks and Hermien Peters of Belgium, posted a time of 1:42.239 in winning Heat 1. They were 4th in the B final at the World Championships last year. Hermien Peters also raced the K1 earlier as well. And in lane 8, that's Karin Johansson and Sofia Paldanius of Sweden, just pulling up into the start buckets.
So look for a fast start out of lane 7 with the British pair, and they're very, very quick out of the blocks. Hopefully setting themselves up, and the start is away.
There they go, they're away. And
fairly even.
Fantastic start from that Spanish pair, though, out in lane 6. They are just nosing into the lead already. Remember, just one place, one boat will qualify for the Olympic Games in Rio. Also going well is the Austrian crew of Anna Roxana Lahatchi and Victoria Schwartz out in lane 4 there. They're looking very strong. So at the moment it's the Austrians against the Spanish in lanes 4 and 6. And the Spanish just got a really nice high stroke rate there, but it looks like Lahatchi and Schwartz are cruising as they
very comfortable
come towards the sort of 250 mark. 2 boats out in the front, but will they be able to hold on to it? Anna Roxana Lahatchi, Victoria Schwartz just pushing into the lead now. Can the Spanish girls react? Can they have a strong finish as well as a strong start? Lahatchi and Schwartz still looking strong. Victoria Schwartz was the 2011 world champion with Yvonne Schuring, who we saw in the K1 earlier. Those girls still hold the world's best time of 1:37.071. So can Victoria Schwartz come back and have another fantastic season, this time with Anna Roxana Lahatchi? And it is that Austrian crew out in lane 4 at the moment, really strong from the Swedes here in the near lane, in lane 8. It does look like the Austrians, though, who are leading it. Can Sweden just make up? What can they do over these last few metres? It's going to go right down to the wire. It's going to be incredibly close.
Ooh,
I think it was Sweden who picked that up at the end. Whew. Wow, that was an extremely tight finish and an extremely strong finish. The Austrians are celebrating. They look pretty happy, pretty confident, but I'm not sure the Swedes would have been in their eye line. I'm not sure they would have seen them.
Oh, I don't think they did. And sadly for them, I have a good feeling that the Swedes have just nosed them out. Disappointing. Very disappointing, but very strong performance there from Johansson and Paldanius.
They have been given winner's position by the looks of things. I don't think they know it. I think they're wondering, but I don't think they're confident of it.
Wow. I'm not sure what games number that is for Paldanius, but I think she would have been to at least 3.
They're just questioning their coach, what's happened, and look at that finish.
Great finish, all the way to the line. That shows you that you have to paddle through the line, particularly in these, every race, but whenever there's tight finishes, you want to be finishing faster than the other crew.
It looks like Lani Boucher and Angela Hanna of Great Britain taking 3rd, ahead of Lise Brooks and Hermien Peters in 4th. So it will be disappointment for the Austrians and for the British as well. But jubilation for the Swedes, have qualified 2 more athlete places, 1 more boat place for the, and 600ths of a second separating those two. Just 600ths of a second.
That's all it takes. And that is the unfortunately competitive and sometimes fickle nature of elite sport, is that things can be separated, lives can be changed by the smallest of margins.
So just about wraps up racing for this session this morning. We do have some Paralympic racing coming up in not too many moments time, in about 10 minutes time. We'll be starting with some B finals. B final of the men's KL1 200 metres, and then we'll go into the A finals of both women's and men's KL1, KL2 and KL3. Remember, this is the World Championships for our Paracanoeists coming up. And you can see that Swedish pair. And that's it from us, and that's it. Thank you very much from Jessie Phillips from Australia as well. And we'll be back this afternoon with more racing here in Duisburg. A very good morning and a warm welcome to a not so warm Duisburg in Germany and the Paracanoe World Championships, where it's the final chance for athletes to secure their places for their country at the Paralympic Games in Rio this summer. So plenty at stake out on the water this morning. Medals, titles, and of course the next step to Paralympic glory as well. We have a packed race schedule this morning and all of them finals, with the men's and women's KL1, KL2 and KL3, all of them racing over a fast and furious 200 metres. There are 4 places up for grabs in each of the 6 Paralympic disciplines. And don't forget World Championship titles and medals on the line for the paracanoeists as well. Of course, most of the Paralympic places were decided at the World Championships last year, but the fastest athletes in the world are out here on the course in Duisburg this afternoon. Alongside me is the Australian international paddler and London 2012 Olympian, Jessie Phillips. Good morning, Jessie.
Good morning.
Fantastic to have Paracanoe debuting at Rio 2016.
Very, very exciting, and great for our sport to place it into the Olympic format. Over the 200 metres, the most exciting distance for sprint kayak. Something that everybody can start to look forward to is seeing, you know, the paracanoeists out there racing furiously over the shorter distances and in a different classifications. KL1, KL2, KL3.
We'll mention them a little bit more. That was the start list just gone up there for the first race of the Paracanoe World Championship finals this afternoon. The first world champion of the week will be crowned in just a few moments' time. The men's KL1 200 metres B final is lining up, so no medals at stake just yet. So this is the B final, just paddling for pride and for glory as well. And
fellow countryman Colin Cedars there in lane 5, taking a quick swig before the gun goes, and he just qualified himself for the Olympic Games just this week with a countback on one of the other athletes, which is very exciting for Cole. He'll be looking to press himself into this B final now that he is heading to Rio. There's the looks like the Argentinian on screen, Diaz, Volkmann.
Yeah, Lucas Nicolas Diaz, who has also qualified a spot at the Paralympic Games. That's the German athlete out in lane 7, Stefan Volkmann, and just paddling up into the start buckets now. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Paralympic classifications, KL1 is for athletes who can use just their arms only. Then KL2 is for athletes who can use their trunk and their arms. And then KL3 is for athletes who are able to use their arms, their trunk and their legs as well. So all the athletes now in this men's B final of the KL1 200 metres just lining up.
You can see a lot of the athletes in the KL1 do need back support and some type of structure to lock them down into the boat to create the power through their arms, so they don't have the upper body capacity to hold themselves in a position and rotate through the torso like the KL2.
And they're underway in this B final of the men's KL1 200 metres. Difficult to see just who's got that early good start. It looks like Tamás Jahash of Hungary and lane 3 looks good, but at the moment I think it is lane 5, Colin Cedars. No, perhaps not Colin Cedars.
Lane 6 in
lane
the
6
Argentinian.
It is. Yeah, it's lane 6. Colin Cedars just alongside him in that green boat, and it's 3 boats out the front at the moment. And Tamás Jahash from Hungary looking very, very strong indeed.
Very strong.
Wasn't
very nice.
too quick out of the blocks, but as they come into the last 50 metres, it is between the Hungarian athletes out in lane 3 and the Argentinian in lane 6, with Colin Cedars of Australia just slipping back, and Alexander Hrenko of Ukraine pushing up. Who's going to take first place in this B final? It will go to Hungary, followed by
Argentina, maybe just ahead
Argentina,
of Ukraine.
just ahead of Ukraine there. So That was a brilliant paddle from Tamas Juhasz of Hungary, out in lane 3, taking first place. I think it was Argentina's Lucas Nicolas Diaz who took second, ahead of Alexander Hrenko of Ukraine in third place. And I think it's fantastic that year on year, now that it's in the Paralympics, we're seeing the Paracanoe athletes lifting the level. The depth of competition that's coming up is fantastic.
Too right. It's pressing everybody to become more and more diligent with training methodologies, for coaches to find different ways of creating opportunities for them to get very small percentages, but within the grasps of the physical capabilities of these athletes out on the water. It is quite difficult. There's balance to be contended with, different weather conditions, strength, the physical limitations that create certain body types based on the disabilities of some of these athletes. The times there you can see 53.8. I mean, some of the KL 200 results in the A final will be hitting into the 40s, you would suggest, in maybe the mid-40s. So there's a little bit of a gap between A and B finals as expected. But some of these athletes still got 2 months to really pull their socks up and see how well they can provide themselves the best chance in Rio.
And because this is Paracanoe is fairly new to the Paralympics, it is brand new to the Paralympics, we are actually finding that some athletes are jumping in a boat quite quickly and having to really step up really quickly. Now next is the A final of the men's KL1 200 metres, and out in lane 2 is the Polish athlete, won silver medal last year, that's Jakub Tokarz, won silver at the World Championships last year, so already qualified his spot for the Paralympic Games in Rio in September. That's Great Britain's Ian Marsden alongside him in lane 3. And he'll be looking to match some of his teammates' capabilities. Lots of Great Britain always looking for the medals. It's not just about qualification for Great Britain, always looking for the medals. And that's so 4 of the unqualified, but 4 of the best unqualified athletes will win qualification. So 3 in this race have already qualified. That's Jakub Tokarz of Poland, Zhao Yu of China, and Luis Carlos Cardoso da Silva, the reigning champion of Brazil, who will be representing his country at a home Paralympic Games this coming September.
Very exciting for him.
Or he will if he gets selected, but he's secured that spot already. So
South Africa, Graham Paul. This is his first outing at an international event.
It's a fantastic stage to do it. I always think Duisburg is one of the best stages to race at. This and Szeged in Hungary.
Correct.
You've always got the crowds. You've got a fantastic setup here. Ideal racing conditions.
Yeah, I believe it is one of the best courses in the world. And you can see there on the screen Ravali from Italy pulling into the starting gate in lane 9 to fill out the field, and they're in the starters' hands now.
And they're underway, and it's a great start from lane 4.
Zhao Yu, he has dominated out of the blocks, and it looks like it's a catch-up game for Cardoso da Silva from Brazil. And on this near side, Remy Boulet from France is also pulling his way down the course very, very swiftly.
So remember, we are looking for 2 things. We're looking for the medalists, who's going to get gold, silver and bronze, but also who are going to pick up those qualification places. And this is going to be very complicated, trying to count everybody over the line, but at the moment it is Zhao Yu of China who's out in the lead, Jakub Tokarz of Poland in second. Those athletes have already qualified places for their countries at the Paralympic Games. As they come towards the finish line, it does look like it's going to be Zhao Yu of China who takes first, ahead of Poland, Brazil and Great Britain. And now it's all going to be down to who qualifies those spots. And if it was indeed Great Britain who picked up that 4th place, it will be Ian Marsden who does qualify a place for Great Britain at the Paralympic Games in Rio. He hadn't yet qualified a spot in the men's KL1 200, so great news for Ian Marsden of Great Britain, and even better news for Zhao Wei-Yu of China, who looked to take 1st place in that A final of the men's KL1 200 metres. It was a absolutely fantastic start straight out of the blocks.
Really impressive athletes. I mean, to consider that the use of the torso is not, you know, not at their disposal, and to produce that type of power into the water is it's really testament to really incredible athletes out there. Most able-bodied athletes on the water, kayak athletes, will use their body without even knowing how much they use the control through the hips and torso. And you can see there that's a low 50 or low 50 compared to a slightly higher 52 in the B final. For Zhao Wei-Yu, Jacob Tokar's just behind, and very exciting there for Ian Marsden.
Yeah, fantastic. And the title changing hands. Luis Carlos Cardoso da Silva, who got bronze this year, won gold last year. Now Zhao Wei-Yu of China taking the gold. Next race on course will be the final of the women's KL1 200 metres, and it's going to be extremely hard to look past that woman out in lane 5, Great Britain's Jeanette Chippington. She has proven extremely hard to beat over the last few years, a former Paralympic swimmer, and has made an absolutely seamless transition on top of the water.
The screen there is a very young and new Australian team member, Jocelyn Newmiller, and she's been paddling for around about 6 months and has just qualified through making this final to the Rio Paralympic Games. So a very exciting time for her. You can see on the screen Kamila Kubash from Poland, Dina Müller from Germany. Home water advantage for Adina.
And as Jessie mentioned there, because 5 of these athletes in this women's KL1 200 metres A final have already qualified for Rio 2016, that means the remaining 4 athletes in this race, all they've got to do is finish. They've got to finish cleanly within the rules, and they will qualify places for their nations for Rio as well. So we do have the reigning champion Jeanette Chippington out in lane 5, alongside the 2015 silver medalist Adina Müller of Germany, who's alongside her in lane 4. Be interesting to see those 2 ladies go head to head. And also in lane 7 is the bronze medalist from last year, Svetlana Krupianova. Just seeing there Agnes Lachaud of France in lane 9. So all these athletes safe in the knowledge that they've qualified. Who's going to get out the blocks quickly? And it looks like a good start from the Russian athlete Alexandra Dupik in lane 6, who's got out really well. Jeanette Chippington just having a little bit of struggle out the blocks, but she's powering her way forward now, and it is those 3 boats in lanes 4, 5 and 6, Germany, Great Britain and Russia, who are spearheading this women's final. And at the moment, it is Adina Müller of Germany who seems to be pulling just into the lead. She won silver last year. Can she take the title away from Jeanette Chippington? And they're coming into the last 50 metres or so of this women's KL1 200 metres final. It's very close up the front. It is Müller at the moment ahead of Chippington.
Chippington might be just pulling back on her now.
It's going to be very, very close. Chippington is having a fantastic finish. Müller seems to be slowing. Has Chippington got enough? And it looks like it will be Adina Müller of Germany who takes gold, with Jeanette Chippington of Great Britain in the silver medal position.
That would be a very cool swim out in lane 2. And I hope that she did cross the line there for her sake in having finished the event. That was Kamila Kubasz from Poland.
Yeah, that's an unlucky finish. You have to have crossed the line in your boat. The nose of the boat has to go over the line. You be in it for the result to stand. And if that athlete out in lane 1 hasn't managed to finish, she won't have qualified that spot for the Paralympic Games.
No doubt about the win there from Müller from Germany, just ahead of Chippington. Chippington was really pushing back to take the title and remain world champion, but 0.19, that's all it is. And she'll be looking for retribution in Rio, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was that final athlete, that lane 9 athlete, did complete the race, so that's great news that all the athletes completed the race, so all of them have got spots in Rio for their nations. And you can see that replay there, just real difference in technique, and I guess with different disabilities in Paracanoe, people have to adapt their techniques to suit what their strengths are, what their capabilities are. You can see out in lane 1, the Australian athlete, New Müller, sort of using her torso a little bit more.
Yeah, she's certainly trying to utilise her body weight as best she can. As I said, she's only been in it for 6 months, so I think she's still, in a very, very steep learning curve. And really good news for the Polish girl in lane 2 who did cross the line comfortably. But no doubt, on screen, our winner, start to finish, she held on. Fantastic, and then you can see her coach congratulating her after a solid World Championship win.
I think for Jeanette Chippington, it was the start that let her down. She wasn't slow out the blocks, but she certainly looked like she'd been inhibited a little bit by the buckets as she tried to pull away.
Sure, she's certainly in the capable hands of the GB canoeing crew, and they've got the fastest starters in the world: Johnny Schofield, Liam Heath, Ed McKeever. So I'm sure that she'll be utilising their expertise and knowledge under the guidance of Alex Nikonorov ahead of Rio. So she nailed that, and then the rest of the race will be hers to battle it out with Adina at this point.
So the next race will be the B final of the men's KL2 200 metres. And KL2, remember, is for athletes who are able to use their arms and their trunk as well. The athletes we just saw racing were athletes who were just able to use their arms. And medals there in the women's KL1 200 metres for Dina Müller of Germany taking first, Jeanette Chippington of Great Britain taking second, and Alexandra Dupik of Russia taking third.
There's the start list of the upcoming KL2 200 final B. Italy, Israel, Iran, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Serbia,
so. Yeah, Serbia, Portugal, Sweden and Poland. So like I said earlier, real depth of fields in Paracanoe now that you can put out, not only finals but A finals, B finals. I think we've got C finals coming up later as well.
It's exciting, and it's a growing sport. The depth is testament to people really keen on this sport. It's fantastic in that you can utilise yourself as an athlete in a sporting environment with limited capabilities.
Yeah.
And those are people around the world who have lower limb issues, hip issues. Paddling has become a sort of guiding light towards fitness and physical activity again, which is so great.
And I think people who are watching at home perhaps today can look at some of these athletes in this next race and just show that, perhaps not having full use of your lower limbs, that ain't going to hold you back, because there's some amazing athletes in this next race.
Absolutely, of mind and body. Some of the stories you hear from some of these Paracanoe athletes, they're they're horrific. You know, they're horrific stories of how they've lost the use of their lower limbs and sometimes lower torsos. And they've come out against the odds of the human physicality and human capabilities and pushing their bodies again, which is really impressive and very inspirational.
So that's the Puerto Rican out there in lane 5, Eddie Montañez. He's spearheading this B final.
He looks like a serious contender. He's got a nice thick barrel chest on him with a couple of good pythons on each side of his body to pull himself down the course.
I think the other thing that stands out for me is, as an ex-athlete, knowing exactly how hard it is to get your boat set up. You know, your fittings, your seat, your footrest, get everything so that it fits just right, so that it's comfortable. And it just makes it extra complicated for the Paracanoe athletes. They've just got so much to think about to get things just spot on, to just get it right. So I think the engineers and the people that work with their craft have got an extra job on their hands, haven't they?
Oh, too right. And you know, it's not just a matter of being comfortable; it's a matter of being functional in these boats. And yes, we're working in towards the KL3. I mean, we're at KL2 now, which is trunk and arms. They've got a little bit more use of their body for the paddling stroke, but they still need a fair bit of stability through their legs to maintain both steering of the boat and also balance and ballast. So a lot of them will have their legs locked down to maintain, you know, a level of stability and maintain a constant sort of balance through the boat. They've got consistency, and you can see some of the strapping that goes on to ensure that they're locked into the boat so they can actually utilise and get power down.
That's the Iranian athlete out in lane 3, Eslam Jahedi. Extremely strong upper body by the looks of things, really strong.
A lot of these Paracanoe athletes have a lot of the energy that they use is going into the upper body now, and a lot of work in the gym. You can see their upper bodies are not they're not lazy looking upper bodies. They're very, very masculine and muscle bound.
They put some of the Olympic athletes to shame, to be honest. I've seen Paracanoe athletes doing chin-ups strapped to their wheelchairs, so lifting the wheelchair as well.
Yep. No, that's not uncommon. Very strong human beings out here.
So we're 1 minute away or so away from this B final in the men's KL2 200 metres. So these athletes just able to use their arms and their trunks, not able to use their legs in this classification. So no medals up for grabs in this race, just the pride and the glory as well.
I'm sure there's a few in this race that will be firing up to prove themselves that they should have been in that A final, and that's always the case for most B final or C finalists, is going, well, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can in this final to prove that I was good enough for the better final, and next time maybe they'll find the form. And we're off now.
So they're underway, and it's a great start for the Portuguese athlete Norberto Mourão out in lane 7. He was straight out of the blocks, and perhaps he's one of those ones that are going to be trying to prove it. And look at his stroke rate out in lane 7. Alongside him as well, the Serbian Vuk Radavonic.
It's like the younger guy, Radanovic is pulling through, but now the central lanes as Montañez really pushes to the lead now.
Yeah, Eddie Montañez of Puerto Rico out in lane 5. We saw him warming up, and he's powered to half a boat length lead over the rest of the field. Remember, no medals up for grabs, just pride at stake, and Eddie Montañez is certainly stamping his authority on this B final. As they cross the line, he will take first, and the second could have gone to any one of Iran, Brazil, Serbia or Portugal. But he wasn't the first out of the blocks by any stretch of the imagination, but what a powerful athlete to have come through like that.
Very powerful, and certainly one of those athletes that probably just missed out on the A final. Maybe had a tough semi-final yesterday, and is really coming out to prove that he was, should be in that length there.
But look at the field. I mean, it's a much flatter line across the field from 2 through to 6, 7th. You know, 8th and 9th are just within the ability to use your torso. The technical aspects of the stroke is more upright. The hands are much more out.
Silver medalist from Great Britain, Robert Oliver. He'll be out there in lane 2. And the bronze medalist from Russia from 2015, Leonid Krylov. But that is lane 4. That's Chao Ribeiro de Carvalho from Brazil. Martin Paracanoe of France in lane 1. And those two athletes, the Brazilian and the French, will qualify places for Rio 2016 if they complete this race. Julian Serban in lane 3 of Romania, already qualified last year. That's one of the 2 British athletes in this race. That's Jonathan Young, who is out in lane 9, the closest lane to us. So 2 Great Britain athletes in this A final. 2 Russian athletes as well, Leonid Krylov and Artem Voronkov, next to each other in lane 6 and 7. And spearheading the race out in the middle lane is Serhiy Yemelyanov of Ukraine. So medals and qualification up for grabs in this A final of the men's KL3 200 meters. That's Artem Voronkov of Russia. Pardon me. It's one of that's the current reigning champion, Tom Keary. He's definitely going to be one to beat, and he's very quick and very powerful out of the blocks. As is Chao Ribeiro de Carvalho of Brazil, looking strong as well, but in lane 8, what a start from the reigning champion. He's going to be very, very hard to beat. Can he keep up this pace over the last 100 meters? They're halfway now. And it is Keary at the moment who takes the lead. It's a strong paddle as well from Leonid Krylov out in lane 6. And it looks like lane 6 who's starting to make some headway. It is Keary who's still in the lead. 20 meters left to go. Barely a few strokes left to go. And it will be Tom Keary who takes the gold medal in the men's KL3 200 meters final. And it was Serhiy Yemelyanov of Ukraine who took the silver. And I believe Leonid Krylov of Russia who took bronze. Very, very tight racing, very impressive racing. Technically, the stroke rate that they got up, the speed, the power, and this really showcases what Paralympic sport is all about. Just absolutely fantastic.
I mean, they'd be testing some athletes around the world in the K1. Really, really powerful is Tom Keary, and obviously a former world champion, reigning world champion. And I think he just held on to that title, just ahead of Yemelyanov and Krylov, Ukraine and Russia. Robert Oliver from Great Britain, silver medalist last year, just outside the medals.
Yeah, down in 5th. So they're the times. 40.430 is the winning time from in a wider boat is the winning time from Tom Keary of Germany. Just 0.04 of a second behind him with Serhiy Yemelyanov of Ukraine. So as we were saying, that is probably the fastest race of the Paracanoe racing so far this morning. The men's A final in the KL3 200 meters. Tom Keary of Germany retaining his title. So the next race out on course will be the A final of the women's KL3 200 meters. So 6 athletes that qualified at the World Championships last year, they're all in this final. So this is looking like it's going to be extremely close racing. the 3 athletes that haven't qualified. That's Kelly Allen of the United States, Brazil's Maria Cristina Santilli, you can see her there in lane 8, and Helen Ripper of Sweden in lane 9. Those athletes, if they complete this race, they will qualify for a place for their nation at Rio 2016. So out in lane 2, that's Erica Scarf of Canada, just 19 years old, already qualified Canada's spot last year. So she's looking like on course. That's Kelly Allen out in lane 1 from the United States. And lane 3, that's Mihaela Lulea of Romania. Already gone through a really vigorous process of heats to get through to this final. So fantastic achievement for them all so far. His former world champion Ann Dickens won silver last year. A former mountain biker. And is switching from legs to arms.
Very hard working.
Paracanoe.
Very hard working, Anne. I've seen her out the training track at Eton Dorney and in the gym at Bisham Abbey over in the UK last year. There's Amanda Reynolds from Australia. She's a world champion, current world champion. Very exciting for Australia to have her leading into Rio. Veronica Yoko Plebani from Italy in lane 6, looking focused.
There's the Iranian athlete Shahla Behrouziad in lane 7. Shahla Behrouziad, and in lane 8, that's the Brazilian athlete Maria Cristina Santilli. She's looking for her spot, or Brazil's spot at Rio. And finally in lane 9, Helen Ripper of Sweden. Sweden's been so strong these last few years in 200 metres, and it's clearly, you know, including the Paracanoe is included in that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's all in light of the medals in Rio. I look forward to seeing the hotly contested 8-lane finals underneath the Christ Redeemer statue in August.
So they're underway. Ann Dickens has got out well for Great Britain. So is Veronica Yoko Plebani of Italy in lane 6. Ann Dickens looking very good. At the moment it looks like Amanda Reynolds is just trailing her slightly. But they've got competition from Veronica Yoko Plebani of Italy and Shahar Behrouziad of Iran as well. Ann Dickens still just holding the lead. Her and Amanda Reynolds of Australia. And it's Amanda Reynolds who's closing that gap. Can Ann Dickens hold on to the lead? Such a nice technique, Ann Dickens. Such long strokes. And alongside Ann is Mihaela Lulea of Romania, who's starting to put the power on now.
Wow.
This is going to come right
Real
down
close.
to the wire. Oh my goodness.
AJ Reynolds, Amanda Reynolds from Australia is pulling up.
Well, who is going to take the gold medal? It's going to go to Ann Dickens of Great Britain, with Amanda Reynolds of Australia in second, and Mihaela Lulea, I believe, of Romania in third.
Wonderful.
What a close race.
Wonderful race.
Oh my goodness, my nerves were right on edge there. And there's Ann Dickens, always with a smile on her face, especially when she goes and wins World Championship gold. She's got that back off Amanda Reynolds. Those two have just been racing so closely for a long time.
Yeah, really exciting to see her paddling fast. And again, you know, the competition head-to-heads in the Paracanoe 8 finals this World Championships is going to set them up for a good couple of months of training.
Yes.
Those that are second will be pushing back for first, and they'll be Anne for certain will be pulling hard to maintain her lead.
When you know your World Championship final is like that, there's no way you're going to go home and be complacent in the last few months up to Rio. That's fantastic. Ann Dickens, a real boost for her ahead of Rio 16, claiming back that world title from Amanda Reynolds after Dickens got silver last year. That's not quite decided. I think that was Romania who took the bronze, and that will be confirmed in a minute. But what power getting put down by Ann Dickens as she comes through the line. 49 years of age and world champion.
Great lady off the water. You can see her smiling, pretty happy after that win, but that doesn't change her persona, even though she's she's just a very, very light soul to have around the regatta course.
Inspirational lady, yeah. So there you have it. 0.4 of a second, Amanda Reynolds behind Ann Dickens. and hardly a breath between Mihaela Lulea of Romania in third and Veronica Yoko Pleb of Italy in fourth.
Quite tight racing, the top 5 within a couple of seconds of each other, and again the depth of field is growing and growing in these KL3 categories.
So what a show we have had from the Paralympic disciplines here at Duisburg this afternoon. Thank you very much to Jessie Phillips, Australian international, London 2012 Olympian, who's been alongside me to help me through the commentary this afternoon. Congratulations to all those Paralympic athletes who have picked up medals. Fantastic race we've just seen from Anne Dickens, Amanda Reynolds, Mihaela Lulea picking up those 3 medals in the women's KL3 200 metres. And all those places at Rio 2016 for the Paralympic disciplines have been decided.
Look forward to seeing them in a couple of months' time. Very, very exciting times.
So also medals this afternoon for Tom Kiri of Germany, who won gold in that KL3 men's 200 metres. That's it from us here at Duisburg this afternoon. All the very best.